Oh yay, beltalowda. Today we're going to be talking about regeneration as a thematic exploration, as a concept in Star Citizen and how it relates to the Book of Callisto. This will serve as a bit of a primer for some people that are unfamiliar with the source material, but it also serves as a bit of a touchstone for how we're going to be marrying sort of these universes and to what extent. We'll start with a brief overview of sort of the history of regeneration, and then we're going to break down some basic terminology that has a lot to do with how the technology works and how it's going to impact the story as a whole. Online in 2949, the regenerative process and technology received the Imperator's endorsement and following legislation in 2951. The synthesis of Dr. Ibrahim's sphere and bioticore serum facilitated the first successful regeneration of a human in 2949. 2 years later, newly elected Imperator Leilani Addison recognized the vast potential of regeneration and directed the UEE to publicize the technology. Imperator Addison allocated trillions of credits towards the manufacture and deployment of regenerative services across Imperial space. Years later, countless lives have been successfully regenerated using medical scanning services provided on even the smallest and most remote space stations. Regeneration continues to be a controversial topic in the years since its development, spurring theological and conspiratorial resistance to its use and implications. Concerns have been raised about the possibility of UEE manipulation of Ibrahim spheres to render regenerated persons more docile, or to use the data within the spheres to create a clone army. To date, no substantive evidence of any such grand conspiracies has been uncovered. Terminology. Regen. A word for someone who has regenerated. It can also be used as shorthand for the regeneration process itself. Cycle. A unit of measurement describing both how many times an individual has been regenerated and the time since their previous regeneration. For example, someone who was imprinted at age 30 and killed and regenerated at age 38 would be on their first cycle. If they were killed again at age 42, their first cycle would have lasted 4 years and they would now be on their second cycle. Gap. Similar to a cycle, a gap instead measures the amount of time between the scanning of a person's most recent imprint and when that imprint was used to regenerate someone. Using the previous example, someone imprinted at 30 and killed at 38 would have a gap of 8 years. If they were again killed at 42 without re-imprinting themselves, the gap would be 12 years. Wiped. To be wiped is to experience true death. Though there are several unknown methods of wiping someone by force, the most common way someone is wiped is through a sufficient degradation of their IVS as a result of excessive TREs. Capable of storing virtually every detail of an individual's mind and body, Ibrahim spheres are at the heart of the regeneration process. These machines and the imprints within are unique to an individual. Only one can store a person's imprint at any given time. Attempts to surpass this limitation have always ended in failure. How the Ibrahim spheres maintain their connection to an individual is not yet known. Scientists have compared the faster-than-light response of an Ibrahim sphere following an imprinted person's death to the instantaneous nature of quantum entanglement. An imprint is a near-identical replica of an individual's physiological and neurological state at the moment of imprinting, a process sophisticated enough to record thoughts, personalities, and even memories. An individual's imprint is entirely unique. Only one can exist at any given time, and updating an existing imprint will erase any previous versions. Although an imprint is a near-perfect representation of an individual when it's created, it begins to degrade the longer an individual goes without refreshing their imprint. Hello everybody, I hope you enjoyed the brilliance that is CIG's Star Citizen lore. Hopefully I can do it justice. Pretty content with how things are storyboarded. Look for episode 3 in its final polished version to be airing sometime soon. TM. Much sooner than Squadron 42's release. And then shortly after that's going to be episode 3.5, which will be launched as a freebie on my Patreon channel. And 4 should be right behind it. looking forward to some fun with ML Clark on this one. And yeah, it's going to be a good time. So enjoy the catch up on Regeneration, some of the terminology. If you are unfamiliar, you're not anymore. Oyedeng, beltalowda. Tenye wat chesh. Good. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow me on my Patreon, but realistically, at the end of the day, all I really need from you is to be nice and to embrace your whimsy and do both of those things in public. And we're even.